Alrighty. I want to talk a little bit about Ebeggars and how if you strip away all the bullshit, all the fluff, all the hype, all the marketing, you see these people for what they really are. Tony Mullins is pretty good at doing exactly that. By on occasion imitating videos. And I remember one time, I do a couple of them myself to be honest, but one time he was there and there's a vacant block or something like that, and there's a few pallets just chucked in the vacant block and a bit of cardboard and shit blowing around, and he's there going, okay guys, I've got the materials I need to start building myself a tiny home from these old pallets. This is high quality timber, blah blah blah. And when you watch it like that, with all the marketing and the hype and the enthusiasm and all the you know, big promises of we're going to do it and it's going to be great and blah blah blah, and all that sort of shit all blows out the window, and it just comes back to the tin tacks of what it actually is. Then it becomes apparent how ridiculous some of these Ebeggars are. I'm thinking more of two particular ones. What I'll call the guardian of the Fairy Meadow, and the other one we'll call our raving wannabe impersonator of a particular rock and roll idol. Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. Talk about the van dweller for a second here. You know, plenty of times you can be part of the dream team and, you know, I'm the king and I'm this and I'm that and I'm an impersonator. How many gigs have you had as an impersonator? Fucking none. Okay, there might be an iota of resemblance, but then again, I really doubt that. He's just a fat hierarchy. Let's face it. Is he Elvis? Can he sing an entire Elvis song? No. Has he had any gigs? No. His dream team. Some of his dream team, you know, are people who do actually have money in their pockets, who do earn money. Some of them don't earn much, others do, particularly Rosie. She earns quite a lot. But a lot of the dream team is just given up on him. One of them went off on the Route 66 tour without him. And in essence, some of these people, it's not the dream team, it's more like the dreamer team. You know, most of them, aside from one or two, don't have enough money to organise their ass to really do anything. They're too broke to do anything. It's all huff and puff and wind and hype and, you know, I'm part of the dream team and we're going to be this and that and fucking blah blah blah, and you all want to aspire to be like me in a 1989 van that, quite honestly, I thought was about a 1976, 77 model, because that sort of instrument panel we haven't had in this country since the 1970s, with a great big wide bloomin', you know, speedo and all the crappy wood grain stuck in like some bad 1980s TV, you know. You got a fuel leak, you got friggin' generator fuel leak on the actual venting pipe, another one on the fill pipe earlier on, another one on the water tank. Every pipe in this thing is turning to shit. Everything's fucked on it. You aspire to be like me in something that's a 27-year-old van with everything failing and failing fast on it. Holy smoke, how do we aspire to be like that? You all want to live vicariously through me. Fuck off, you're living vicariously through Elvis Presley, dreaming that you're some sort of a fucking form of some famous rock star of the yesteryear. Some guy who was actually famous, who actually had real serious fucking money, millions and millions of dollars, who was actually loved and was known the world over. But, you know, we're not vicariously living through him, he's vicariously living through Elvis. You know, the proper fucking rock star Elvis. You know, it's the dream team, and we're gonna fucking blah, 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 and, you know, the uncut girth, well, what's that? Is that just mean you're too fat? The fuck is uncut girth? And then if you're anyone else that he wants to hang crap on, it's oh so turkey looking neck. Even I've copped that one. But the thing is, you got to have 4 chins, and if you don't have 4 chins, then you got an oh so turkey looking neck. What's the alternative? To have 4 chins? Fucking hell. At least to know one thing, I won't have a heart attack by age 55 or before. Just sitting there living in a fucking rusted out bucket of shit, killing himself with all this greasy food. Fucking hell. Why the fuck would you aspire to that? And the other interesting thing is, you know, he's been away for 2 months or so, comes back, and it's all the rants are the same. You know, you can watch one hangout and you hear the same rant 5 times. Skinny weeny arms, oh so turkey looking neck, you don't have the genetics. Thank God I don't have genetics like him. Bloody hell, he's got enough trouble lifting his guts, let alone lifting furniture all day. And all these rants, they're all just the same fucking shit repeated. And then he's telling Rosie that he's got a better hangout than Rosie. Why is that? Because Rosie has 5 to 8 people come on and they talk about real stuff, as opposed to one fat Iraqi sitting in a fucking coffee shop just ranting the same rants 5 times over in fucking 2 hours. The fuck? How can a hangout be cooler with just one fat dude ranting a heap of shit, you know, and then ranting that same shit 5 times over? How the fuck is that a groovy hangout? It's just some fat guy sitting there on his own talking shit about himself and other people and repeating shit 5 times over. But anyway, I nearly repeated myself 5 times over there. So we'll get on to someone else. Let's talk about TTPS. I'm actually uploading videos in the background, you know. I've got the ability to do more than one thing at once here, so I might need to touch that in a second. You can pretend it's something that's up there with things that cost $30,000, $40,000. This glorious TTPS. Let's face it. It's a camper frame held up mainly with cinder blocks, well over its weight rating, that 2 years after it's been built, 80% of the sides are still tar paper. This is not some fucking coal camp from the Depression, where they're going to rip the coal out and move on before too long, and they can't afford to seriously clad a place, and the company doesn't want to afford to clad a place properly, so they leave it with tar paper. Fucking hell. How can anybody take it seriously 2 years down the track, 80% of it's tar paper, on a frame that's held up primarily by cinder blocks, well over its weight rating, with all these other idiots saying, oh, it's legal. Well, that's funny, because there's been 2 videos on YouTube where people have rang up that specific county, talked to a representative, asked them if it was legal to have something like that, and they've said no. And that's happened twice with 2 different people on YouTube. And they've straight out said, no, you can't have shit like that, it's not legal. But never mind that, you know, it's some... And I must admit, it looks all right inside, you know. Some people don't like bare timber. I like bare timber. That's why I got all plywood in my room. Otherwise, I would have painted it. You know, but there's no point pissing in your pocket about what these things are. You can hype up everything to be what it is. You know, you can claim that mucking around with tomato slops in the dark under torchlight, pouring it into jars, that you've boiled the lids of the jars, is canning. Fucking hell. Where were the fucking cans? Where was the canning machine? Whatever. So many things, time after time. The reality of the situation versus the marketed image. The marketed image is fucking horse shit. You know. It's not a Mercedes-Benz that's brand new if it's a fucking 20-year-old Chev full of rust that you've glued a Mercedes-Benz badge onto the front of after you ripped off the Chev badge. You know what I'm saying? You can fucking hype shit up to be whatever you fucking want to be, but it doesn't necessarily make it the fucking Mercedes-Benz. It's still a fucking Chev. You know, and you can hype all this shit up to be something it's not, but it doesn't make it something glorious, you know. You can talk as much shit as you want, but the proof is in the solid reality once the marketing hype is chucked out the fucking window. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I'm sitting in, you know, a fucking limousine that's, you know, wedding car material. Well, hey, it was wedding car material back when they first come out. There are some stretch versions of what I'm sitting in right now that are still used as wedding cars in this same city. But let's face it, I'm sitting in a 99 model Ford, you know, and you can pretend it's a fucking worthy of fucking some glorious fucking statement up there running against the fucking Mercedes-Benzes, but it's still a fucking Ford, you know. And it's still done bloody 300,000 Ks, you know. And this is the thing. All the fluff and the hype and the carry-on and the ego and the fucking self-quoted status of being a king that everybody wants to aspire to, or being a fucking survival expert who can't even use a water filter according to the instructions. Well, you know, you can be what you want to be in your own fucking mind, but as time goes on, and for those people who see it with all the marketing fluff chucked out the window and see it for what it is, not for what the marketing fluff and the hype and this person's ego tells them it is, but what it truly is, then reality sets in. And then people start telling you what they really think, and, you know, what the real situation is, not the, I'm going to pretend this is a Mercedes-Benz, but really it's just a burnt-out old Chev with a fucking Mercedes-Benz symbol glued on the front. And they can't handle it, because a lot of these Ebeggars have got a lot less than most of us that work. And the reality of the situation is that they want to think they're above us. They get down to, you know, it's part of their ego to think that they're above us. So they've got to bullshit to themselves about what they've got in order to bolster their ego, to be above somebody who works and actually has real fucking money in their hand. You know, and you know, they can't handle people telling them the solid truth. They get fucking pissed off by it. And then you get all the little supporters who come and say things like, oh, Mr. Porter doesn't have any clothes. Yeah, Mr. Porter doesn't have any... Hang on a fucking minute. The guy works, and he's in a first world country. How the fuck could he not have any clothes? Like I always say, if you're going to make shit up, at least make it believable. Mr. Porter doesn't have any clothes. Link's mum pays for everything. My mum doesn't come to my house any more than once every 9 months. She doesn't have the old age pension, and she doesn't have a job either. They're living off my father's old age pension. How's she going to come and pay for all my shit? I paid for this fucking car in cash, $9,000 in April 2009. I didn't have mummy give me a car and then another truck and blah, blah, blah. You know, but, oh, shit. Well, we've got to find some way to bring this bastard down lower than the e-beggar in order to keep the e-beggar higher. You know, instead of trying to keep up with the Joneses, just see whatever you can do to drag the Joneses down, because the reality of the situation is you're never going to keep up with the Joneses, and the only way you got any hope of it is trying to shit-can the Joneses to bring them down to your level and hopefully lower than your level. That's what these e-beggars get up to. And one day they're all going to wake up and realise they've got no 401ks and they're just going to be living in a pretty shitty situation with very little income of any kind. When they hit retirement age, they're going to be fucking jumping in the pond, in the water fountain to steal the pennies out of the bottom of the water fountain for all the little kids that made a wish. And they're going to be down at the beach fighting the fucking seagulls for chips as everybody's feeding the seagulls fucking chips.